Hello, and welcome back to Prism and Company. On the docket today, a video, because it's been a hot minute since I've been here, and I'm sorry for that. And I'm not sorry to you. Well, I am sorry to you, but I'm mostly sorry to me, because this brings me such joy. The reason I started making YouTube videos in the first place was I needed an unadulterated, is that a word? Whatever, a space for me to just be and experience joy the way I wanted to. And as it turns out, that's talking about tarot cards. So here I am, I'm back. If you're curious, I won't bore you with my life, but after finishing the Prism Tarot, I'm still so excited about it. After finishing, I made a couple videos about it because I needed to get it out of my system. And then my social calendar filled up and I just crashed. My creative brain fizzled and twitched and glitched out. But that is all past now. It mostly passed, Finally getting a little more time back to myself and finally have some time to make more videos again. And I so desperately want to jump back into ocean dry content, but it's just a little heavy for me right now. So I wanted to do something that has been kind of highly requested, and that is revisiting Dixit. Now, if you didn't happen to catch the first video on Dixit, Dixit's actually a game. It's very much in line with something like Cards Against Humanity or Apples to Apples. It is a card game where you essentially give clues or have prompts and people have to guess. That's the general premise. With a game like Apples to Apples, people are picking the funniest response. But with Dixit, you're telling vague stories and you want some people to guess that it's you as the storyteller and some people not to. So it's all about kind of cryptic information. But the coolest part, and I won't spoil too many of the images, but the cards are just solid, beautiful images with no text. That is the whole idea. So it is, I'll show you two of them here. Oh, I'll show you three of them here. So that's the whole thing. And because of that, Dixit makes a really good Oracle deck. And if you know me, you know that I am not a super big fan of Oracle cards, but I am a super big fan of storytelling and experimentation. So what I did my first Dixit video around was I took these cards and tried to read them as a story. I just, shuffled cards, laid out three and said, okay, what are we seeing here? I want to be a tad bit more focused this time. So I've picked 27 cards again, and I'm going to shuffle them and draw them in spreads of 3. But I want to see if I can determine some life lessons. Let's see if we can, just from Dixit cards, find some good vibes, some good omens moving forward for 2020. I think this should be a blast. I've missed you guys, and I've missed talking to my iPad. This is lovely. Okay, enough of the jabber, enough of the intro. Let's get down to drawing some cards. Spread numero uno. Oh man, it feels so good to be back. I did hand select 27 cards from my rather massive Dixit collection. There's a whole bunch of expansions and versions of it, each with their own beautiful art style and themes and genres and subgenres. It's lovely. I just jam them all together in a big box because that's how I roll these days. But I wanted to pick cards that had some semblance of, not theme or, oh God, I don't know, whatever. Clearly, I'm out of practice because words are not coming to me. I picked 27 cards that I liked and I thought had some imagery that sort of spoke to this kind of life lessons bit that we're going for here. So I'm going to draw 3 off the top, and we will probably draw in different ways because we got a bunch of spreads to get through. But we'll just start off nice and classic. Okay, let's lay these puppies out. Ooh, there's one we saw from the beginning. These beautiful sort of land masses that look like people. And then, ooh, like a spooky Halloween thing. Delicious and delectable. Now, just to speak to Dixit again for a moment, obviously you can see some very disparate styles here. That is because each Dixit set is created by a single artist, for the most part, and then they explore themes within. So you're actually probably seeing cards from 3 different sets here. That's why you're looking at pretty different styles of images. Personally, I love that, though. That kind of eclectic mix makes it feel like a museum almost, instead of just an artist's portfolio. Nothing wrong with an artist's portfolio, but I do love me some variety in my images. Okay, so what is our life lesson that we're learning here? let's kind of talk through what we're seeing. We see a person watering a plant when it's raining. So maybe like excess or not really realizing what's happening, unawareness. We see land masses made of people. I think this directly speaks to something like, we are the earth. Like people make up the land, even though the land has been here so long, it is primordial. The way that humans experience the land is, like we are part of it. It is not like it is us and land. It is us land. Welcome to the magical world of us land, where we directly influence nature and nature directly influences us. And then here, okay, so I'm kind of getting the narrative all of a sudden. This is us as humanity being extremely focused on the wrong thing. There's all of this rain coming down. There's all of this water underneath. It's extremely obvious, but we're just focused on the one task at hand. We have to water the plant. This is our job. But if we do that, if we lose sight of, the fact that we are the land is us, like everything is all connected in this way, then it's going to be a ghost town. Like there's nothing here except for the memories of people. This, figure is almost standing in for a human. We can see their heart and their eyes glowing, but it's not actually a person. They're just on sticks. And all that's left are kind of the floating memories of these people illuminating this tree, illuminating the earth that could have been so in touch. It's going to feel like it's going to be some heavy themes in this one now that I'm doing this. So maybe this wasn't the most lighthearted video. I think that's cool though. Like I would say the thesis statement of these three cards are pay more attention to the earth. Pay more attention to what it's saying because we want to be here and present and not gone and forgotten. Okay, cool. Well, either way, such a blast. I think it's so cool reading into images like this and kind of exploring and rooting around. Let's see what number 2 holds. Okay, I gotta get better at this too. Hello, it's me, the narrator. In this scene, you see Colin talking about cards, but I have superimposed over the top of it with different... Oh my god. Okay, so I was really trying to be like, I'm gesturing and like it's Colin talking, but there's a narrator on top of it. And all I could do was move my hand to the sound of the narrator, because I apparently can't think of more than one thing at once. I'm kind of feeling the bottom 3 cards this time around. Let's continue on sans narrator, because obviously it wasn't working. Okay, cool. So we have, another rain one. I must have just kind of gravitated towards some of those more rainy, whatever, images. You got it. Again, we see very disparate styles here. This very, like, pastel, almost, like, very painterly style. It looks traditionally made, even though it was probably digital. We see a very crisp, clean digital style here, and it's very surrealist because we have, a jellyfish and a brain, a jellyfish hand and a jellyfish brain that are made up to look like real animals. Like we're clearly diving into the realm of the abstract, the surrealist here. And then we have, in many ways, a more realistic image that looks top down in kind of like a more crude style. Not that, man, crude is such a tough word, but in more of a simplistic style, more of a symbolistic style. You'll just have to roll with me. The image is gorgeous. I don't mean anything against it by using those terms. Those are some of the flavors that kind of come to mind. So let's take a look and see what these could mean altogether. So in some ways, this also feels a little bit like that last card we saw. It's kind of funny how those two ended up like in the same slot, with someone with an umbrella not being focused on the right thing. Really interesting though. What I'm going to say here though is a little different take. This is somebody having and somebody needing, and that is in the wrong spot. If you think about the world these days, there are many places that have excess and many places that need desperately. And, it's the people who have excess looking at the people who need, because the people with excess have access to things like the news and TV and iPhones and all that stuff. So interesting little like political flair on that one. Here we have these jellyfish, and especially like these bright lines are reminding me of neurons and synapses, of ideas flashing and firing, especially on the brain side. And then here we have, the red of blood coming off the hand. So the very like human flesh and bone side of things, and the electrical, chemical brain side. So this could even be somebody reaching out, and this could be somebody maybe theoretically giving. Okay, here we go. So this is somebody reaching out. This is like this tendril is reaching to the hand as if to help and give, but it's just a neuron. It's just an idea. And then here we see, what is this called? Hopscotch? A hopscotch track that is like insanely complicated. It's all of this, stuff, these symbols and arrows pointing in different directions. It's very hard to read, but there is a definite starting point or maybe a definite ending point. I think though, with how focused this is in our composition, like literally the center of this card is brighter, drawing our eye in. The edges are darker, something called a vignette, which is taking our eyes or our focus away. And then this spiral going outward. So the motion starts in the center and goes outward because everything from the light to the composition makes that happen. So I think this is a start and not an end, although you could certainly make an argument either way. So our life lesson out of these cards, if you have and see that somebody needs, if they are reaching out to you and you are thinking about helping, but are getting overwhelmed by the complexity, start somewhere. Even though the journey will be hard and complicated and confusing and nobody will probably have a great answer of how to do it, you have to start. If you do not start, you're in just this nebulous gray area right in the center. You have to start. You've identified the problem. Now, don't just think about it, take some action and actually begin to move down this path. Because once you get going, once you realize how confusing all these symbols are and things, there's a pattern. There's always some sort of bigger method to madness, and it will lead you somewhere. We don't know where it's going to lead. It's literally off the page, but it will lead somewhere. Ooh, okay. I'm back to having fun again. Let's take a look at number 3. Oh God, I just dropped them all. Oh no. Okay, we recovered. Okay. Oh man. Okay, we're shuffling again. I'm coming back down. The energy's coming back down. It got a little exciting there for a second. Okay, this has been cool so far. I think we've had 2 fairly decent life lessons. We're getting a little shuffle on here. Maybe we'll do a little spread out the cards. Are we, Colin? Are we actually going to do that? Because it doesn't seem like we're doing that. Okay, I'm going to pick this one. And I'm also going to pick this one. And then I'm going to pick this one. Oh God, I've made a mess. Okay, we're gonna go like this. We're gonna put these over there. You know what my favorite part of this video is? The part where Colin spends like 25 minutes picking up cards because he made a big mess. Yeah, I agree. That was really, really motivational and extremely good content. Okay. On to these next 3. Yay! I'm so excited about that card. It's so damn goofy. Also this one. Okay, this is going to be a good one. It's impossible for it not to be because look at how charming these are. Okay. Ooh, I'm rolling up the sleeves here. Ooh, shaking it out. And are we going to T-Swift shake it out right now? You and me, the viewer? I think we are. I think it's time. Okay, let's get back. What life lesson can we learn from the garlic vampire, this weird harp tree, and all these crabs? I'm so glad you asked, my friend. I'm so very glad you asked, because I don't actually know. Let's find out together, though. This guy, okay, this slot is feeling a lot like poor perspective or like missing the point, because we have like this very nervous looking vampire. And part of me wants to read in like he's nervous about garlic, but he's literally like wafting off garlic smell and is also garlic, like you do. But we'll see. I might come back. I think I want to read that a little bit differently. Maybe like worried about perception in some ways. Like, oh, vampires aren't supposed to like garlic, but I am made of garlic and you're smelling me. So now I'm all nervous and a little bit shy and coy. Here we see a tree literally turning into music, like the earth erupting into sound, and there's like animal friends there. This is kind of an interesting little tidbit of these arrows being down here. Also this heart carved into the tree. There's just a lot going on in this card. General vibes though, I'm feeling peace and happiness, putting arms down perhaps, since we're thinking, big world advice. Great, we're gonna just like do that. And then here it's like, under the sea, look at me, move on the crabs over there. This is not the best rendition of Under the Sea, nor the best remix ever. But we have like people like singing and moving together, and it's like a very good flow. So, okay, I'm actually liking the like put down the arms, kumbaya aspect of this card. And then like everyone is moving in the same direction towards peace. Peace, I'm going to say, is the message of the day here. Everyone feels like stinky vampires. Nope. I just wanted to throw that out there. It didn't really land, but that's I just wanted to try. Everybody is nervous that they will be. Maybe everybody's nervous that they're the issue. I'm gonna bring this down a little bit. I was gonna go like, everybody destroy your weapons, like literal countries. Let's take it down to like the interpersonal level. Everyone's always constantly panicked and worried that they are the thing that's going to ruin everything. I think we've all kind of been there sometimes. Like you feel like a fraud, you don't know what you're talking about or whatever. You feel like maybe at work you're just like skirting by and every day is like, oh God, they're going to notice that I'm no good. And I have to like prove that I'm working or whatever. And that is 100% untrue because like we are the thing that we fear in some cases, or not the thing that we fear. The thing that we fear, it like doesn't exist because we just like are in it. We work at our job, we do our job, every human does, so that is how that operates. It's not like there's another way in which jobs operate. It like is what it currently is. Things can always change, of course, but it's that looking out and feeling like a fraud or feeling like you're the problem or the secret like crack in the foundation, but not realizing that just like life is the way it is and you have to sort of look in to understand that you are not that problem. That is like self-imposed on you. This one, we have to sort of like put down those harmful thoughts and just sort of like embrace what the world is. Here we have a tree, we have a very natural environment with a very human man-made item on it. So this is our humanity superimposing itself onto nature and singing a song. We have to understand that we're all in it together, High School Musical style, and it's just the culmination of everybody, working together and like coming to peace with their own inner garlic vampire that will lead to all of us working in unity and harmony towards some awesome musical number, because you heard it here first, folks. The best version of reality is the one where we are constantly breaking out into musical numbers. That's my little Colin tip to you. Okay, don't fear yourself. Embrace what you are, lay down the weapons you have aimed at your own self, and embrace your inner nature, and then all of us can move together towards a common goal. That one was a little bit bumpy, but I think we got there, and I think these crabs are making me happy. So actually, I know those crabs are making me happy. You know how I know that? Because they're adorable crabs, and I feel joy in my heart. And now we're going to the next one. Hey, Colin, remember that one time that you dropped all the cards and they got all messed up? Okay, I'm going to tell you a little fun fact about me while I organize these. I used to be like mega obsessive about how I handled and worked with cards. That was back in like my board game playing days. I still play board games and card games, but not nearly as much. And just like every card needed its own sleeve, every card needed to be faced the same way and sorted by size and shape and all of these things. I'm much less that way now, but the one thing that drives me insane are cards facing the opposite direction. I just can't do it. So now we're back, and the world is beautiful again. It's like, oh my God, like those crabs, all just like singing and dancing and loving on life. And also there were shrimp things there, I guess. There's a phone, there's a sphinx, there's a constellation. And I think this one honestly speaks for itself, so we're moving on to the next. All right, I am going to actually read it, though. That was the lamest joke I've probably done on this channel. You're welcome. We've reached a new low, folks. We now know exactly where the bottom of the barrel is. Okay, so let's take a peek here. We have a cellular phone, because that's how humans say that word. A telephone, oh my. And inside of that telephone, let's actually zoom in on this one, are all these little folks. And they're looking at computer screens. Whoa. And these ones are like facing the same direction, but that one's like not. Wow. Okay, it actually is a beautiful image though. I don't in any way mean to mock it at all. But the phone looks really beautiful. It's golden, it's shiny, but inside it's very gray and monotone. Kind of interesting. Here we have a sphinx in a city, it looks like. This is from my favorite Dixit expansion, Journeys, which is a hard one to find, admittedly, but oh my God, it's so pretty. And it's looking longingly into the jungle. Perhaps it wants to sow some sort of wild oats, or the thing that I always think about with, oh my God, oh my God. Okay, the reading just came to me. Finish your thought, Colin. The thing that always comes to mind with me about sphinxes is the idea of like mysteries, like the show Ancient Aliens comes to mind if you've ever seen it. And not necessarily the aliens bit, but just the idea that like a sphinx represents some unknown mystery, that there's like some deeper, weird meaning to it. And I kind of think of it like, you know, the city over here, and then like the sphinx is like longing for that weird, deep mystery, but it's stuck in the city or like stuck in some park. And then here we have this constellation, so beautiful, sparkling and popping and shining. You can almost feel like the vibration of these lights ebbing and flowing, looking down on this little small village. Okay, here's my read. We have people working day in and day out, feeling trapped within the places and within the things that we do. Even feeling trapped like within our phones. We can no longer escape work because now we take it with us. It is there in the city that we live, but there is this part of us, this sphinx that lives within us, this deep inner knowledge that is always constantly looking to the jungle. You can even see it in this card. We are trapped within this box, but on the wall is all of this green. That is the wild, the jungle, the outside of work that we want to see. So, in this last card, we see this constellation looking down on a small village. And I almost think of this like a dream, you know, maybe something that's happening at night. So, you know, this will not change. We have to work, we have to exist. There is an element of life that is very confined and very kind of systematic, rhythmic, structured, whatever. There's a word in there. But we have to allow our inner wonder and whimsy to really flourish. And it might be something so small as to embrace our dreams and just find light and beauty in them. Or it could be, you know, someone's imagination creating this constellation that is looking over all of these houses. It's the idea of, instead of feeling trapped inside of the building, we are now moving outside into the wilds. We are now this figure. We are looking down on what we are, kind of observing from the outside and treating life more like a cool museum in some ways. Like, oh, we get to look in and experience like all these weird animals doing things while living this very whimsical topside life from another perspective entirely. Super fun. Love that read. That one just, sometimes they just come easy, and I like that, quite frankly. And look at that card. It's juicy. But really, like, honestly, of all the cards I picked, this was my standout because this is an image that kind of feels like it should be creepy. Anytime you have a big, imposing figure over something very small, it tends to be very aggressive. And this figure is even leaning over and looking directly down. But there is a lot of stuff that removes that danger and aggression out of this card. First of all, it's the style. It's very hand-painted, it's very whimsical, it's not going for particularly realistic. Things look very modeled and clay-like. And then we have, obviously, the lights making up our figure here. So if this was like a dark, shadowy figure, done. Like, that is a horror image right there. But this is literally made of flickering lights. And not even just dots, but there's like whimsical flashes and pops in places that there should be. And then also the figure that this is depicting is like a little girl almost. Like, you can see pigtails, we see a smile and, you know, bangs over the top, and her proportions are that of a kid. So like, you know, bigger head, shorter torso, shorter legs. If this was an adult, everything gets stretched out and the head stays the same size, but the body continues to grow. So we have a very childlike figure looking over this very safe looking town, which just removes all elements of threat out of here. So neat. And don't forget, folks, if you're feeling stuck at work, find a little whimsy, be like this Sphinx, and daydream about the wilds. Or maybe go there too. Like, I don't know, quit your job and become a monk or something. That's kind of what I want to do. Oh, hey there. Hi, I didn't see you come in. I'm reading some Dixit cards. Would you like to maybe look at these three with me? Because that would be dope. I said that in the cadence like it was a joke, but let's be real. Nothing funny happened. For, let's see, 17 seconds, nothing funny happened. Now we're here, and we all have to live with the memory of that. That's heavy. There's my life lesson to you. You have to live with the memory of that, and sometimes life is hard. Now we're on to this reading. Okay, let's examine some of these images. This one I feel is going to be weird, like, because what a weird image, but we'll get there. Here we see some sort of autonomous robotic being. You always roll your R's with a robot, by the way. And it's interesting. She has eyes, so, apparently probably synthetic eyes, but then all of these glasses with the different emotions. Actually, there's not very many different emotions. A lot of the eyes are sort of looking up and to the right, but they're like, those are some like slanty eyes, and those are like, ooh la la eyes, and those are like, eyes. And now we're done talking about the eyes. There's also a sleeping figure and an awake figure, perhaps. There's a lot of things happening there. Oh, there's also human-ish hands and robot hands. This is dense. There's a lot of things happening there. And sometimes images are dense in like a, ooh, there's so much symbolism way. And sometimes they're dense in like a, I think the artist just really had maybe like a thing for robots and was like just loving it, loving every single second. So we'll see where that goes. This image is not as dense, but oh, so beautiful. Here we have this awesome pirate with sort of a blank expression on his face, digging for buried treasure with all of his tools, but it's on metal. I get a very Lost vibe here with like The Hatch. Ooh, my favorite TV show of all time. And for those of you who didn't like it, that's a totally valid opinion, actually. I did, though. And he's carrying this light up here. Oh, that's lovely. And then here we see a goose riding a panther who's pointing forward on a magic carpet, carrying an illuminated world that is surrounded by dots on either side, amidst a setting sun, in front of a palace, in front of a sand dune behind, a sand dune, and behind a third sand dune with clouds in the air. And this, my friends, has been looking at a thing with Colin. I did that mostly because, like, what the heck does this even mean? It's cool, it's beautiful. The tasteful, like, ultra subtle analogous color palettes are like really doing it for me. But let's look at what this is. I feel like this is the most obvious meaning card here. Oh my God, look at this little hat. Hold on. Wait, oh, it's so cute. I want the hat. Okay, now that we're done with that. This card to me is all about like searching for what you're finding for. Finding for? Oh my God. I think my brain is actively shutting down. You're watching my brain as it dissolves slowly into madness. Welcome. This is somebody looking at a goal, but not understanding the goal. His goal is to dig and find treasure, but he has not come equipped properly. The challenge that he's facing is clearly too difficult for what he is prepared for. So, here we go. So we have a person. Let's just call this a person. Ignore all the weird robot fetish stuff. Robot fetish stuff, is that where my channel is getting to now? Doesn't matter. Looking at the world through all of these different lenses. And they've picked a lens to look at the world through, but it's not correct. And then there's things flying away. No, we're going somewhere. I'm liking this. So like looking at challenges from the wrong angle and not being prepared for them, but then ultimately finding creative solutions around them, perhaps? What's actually happening here? We have a panther moving things forward, and they're flying, and this goose is carrying the world. And they're over the desert. The sun is setting. Okay. Looking at the world through different lenses is tough and worrisome. And sometimes you don't know which is the right lens to view things from because life is complicated and you can view things in many different ways. And you will often find obstacles that you were not prepared for or completely misinterpreted that you cannot grok or overcome. That is the word I was looking for. But ultimately, the way that you experience life is the thing that illuminates your path. And even though there are so many options, there is so much confusion about how you go, you ultimately, in a dark world, need to make your own path. And, you fly your carpet over the desert. You need to find a creative solution, a creative way to move forward that is maybe not even any of these lenses. Find a new lens that you can work through and just go. Like, this is all very static. He's standing there looking at this. She's trying to pick a lens. But the ultimate goal is like, don't panic about this stuff. You just got to go. And whatever you choose to be your lens will be your lens, and it will take you there. Okay, I'm actually pretty happy with that one. And to sort of wrap things up, we're going to take another look at this hat because it's so cute. There's little teeth on there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teeth, and there's these little bones, and then the eyes. You get it. It's a skull. But oh my God, it's so cute. Okay. Maybe if we're really, really quiet, the guards won't know that I'm making all these meanings up, and it'll be really, really easy to read them. But we have to be like super duper quiet. Okay. Now, there's a very real risk that all of this audio will be trash and you won't actually be able to hear it. So I'm actually going to bump up the volume a little bit because that's where I'm at right now. Because the video needs to actually be watchable, which is weird, I know, right? And now I'm going to stop doing this bit because that was hurting my throat. Okay, and here we are. If you're just hearing me now for the first time and couldn't hear me whispering, I was being a moron and trying to do some stupid bit. Okay, but here we are presented with 3 beautiful images. I know how to construct sentences and flow. This picture, oh my God, is so pretty of this violin turning into the pen, which is writing. But to me, the most interesting part is that the line actually goes off of the page. Ooh, where does it go? We may never know. Here we have a professor running through the machinery. Look at all these sweet glowing pipes and alchemical vials, even some in the lab coat itself. And then we have kids painting on a globe, it looks like, and just being smeary and blotchy and expressive, and it's super cool. So what could all this mean? What big life lesson can we uncover from these cards? This particular one, these 3 cards, this moment that we're experiencing together is the moment where I know that I officially cannot speak anymore. Like, who, there it is. I'm an owl now. I'm saying who a lot. The flow is not there. So I'm going to start making this hand motion to up my flow. This card over here is all about taking the arts and expressing them through certain means. We have things like music and writing and even maybe performance breaking off the page. And then here we have science. We have a person marching through the machinery amongst all of these beautiful bottles. And this is the life lesson of knowing that children are the future. They will become our musicians and our scientists, but they're also full of joy and whimsy. And I think we've learned from some of the other life lessons that we've experienced that the world can be kind of heavy. We see the paint dripping down. So embracing happiness and especially cultivating that within the youth who will become our future is of the utmost importance. And as much as my accent might leave you to believe I don't believe that, I think that's totally true. The idea of like not letting our weight impose on the weight of the next generation. As like dire as the world feels sometimes, like if everyone is cripplingly depressed and scared, nothing will happen. Like you need to like breathe life into a people to activate them, like literally and metaphorically. So I'm going to call this, I'm not even going to like rotate this around, and this is not rotating, this is rearranging. So we have kids who we need to cultivate and not protect, but like keep safe with like a happy bubble in some ways. Maybe not even a bubble, just like cultivate their happiness. The words that I said, cultivating happiness to breathe life into the future, whether that be artistic or scientific, because that is how life works. They will be the next. All right. I think let's just move on to the next one. But I love that. And this is just so darn pretty. This is just so darn pretty. This is just so darn pretty. There's a theme here. Everything's pretty. Ooh, we're getting down to the wire. There's only 3 more life lessons to go. And I wonder what they'll be. We're going to go 1 off the top, 1 off the bottom, and 1 in the center. I was having a conversation with a friend recently, and they asked me, how do you pick cards? You know, they had a lot of stress about drawing and picking cards from a tarot deck, from a Dixit deck, whatever it might be. And this is my honest answer to that question. And it feels a little bit like lame in some ways, but also, I don't know, it really works for me. As far as I'm concerned, you know, our brains are chemicals. All of our decisions in many ways are kind of dictated by our experiences. So things that have happened in the past, the literal firing of synapses and chemicals, excuse me as I burp, lead to the places that we will go next. And I don't mean that quite as like deterministic as it sounds, but just that like any decision that I make, the words that I'm saying right now and will say next, like you could theoretically track them if you had enough data to analyze all of the input that's come into me. So however I choose to shuffle and draw and spread and whatever, it's going to be what it is. So I can let go of the stress of having to shuffle the right way or draw the right way and just do it, whatever feels right. And if it feels wrong, that's also right because that's how it happened. And all of those draws will lead to the next. And for whatever reason, that just like, let me let go of the tension. It was wonderful. Let's take a peek at these cards here. Ooh, we have a gal waiting for a train that's probably never showing up. Ooh, there's one of our cards from the beginning, a bed underwater. And this one I can't flip. A person surrounded by all sorts of paperwork and equations and with many arms, clearly busy, busy. So what kind of themes are we seeing here? I'm getting a sense almost of longing. You know, this longing to leave but not being able to go. This shadow is very interesting, though. It's almost as if there is a figure off screen or off card that is casting a shadow down, because we can definitely see from where these shadows are being cast, our light source is up here, so there is something blocking the light. Very curious indeed. Here we have a bed in water, so that could be something like dreaming, because you know you're taken somewhere else when you're asleep, or maybe it could be a bed out of context, like you're trying to get rest, but it's wet and cold and dark and you can't. And then all of this maniacal, manic work. And, you know, I say that because work is not necessarily bad. In fact, I actually love work. But this person is clearly not in a great space. Like, this is not the face of someone who's like ultra happy about the work that they're doing. And it doesn't seem upset or angry. It almost seems somber. And even their clothing is made up of these words. Wow, this is a really beautiful image. This one took some time to create. Dang, gorgeous. Every time I look at Dixit cards, I'm just like, Bazzah! That amount of noises that I just made is what I feel when I look at a Dixit deck. Okay, so what can we draw from this? What kind of big life lesson? I'm just going to throw some stuff out there. Waiting for your train, if you will, like waiting for your time to shine, will maybe feels out of place. This almost feels cautionary to me. Don't wait for your life to get to you. Don't feel like you have to pack up your bags and wait. She could be walking and going. If you feel out of place, you probably are. Maybe that's it. Maybe if you, okay. I like the thesis statement of if you feel out of place, you probably are. If your bed is underwater, you know, if you're uncomfortable in a spot that should feel comfortable, like the place that you live or the job that you're in, look around. Is it the right environment? Does the environment literally need to be shifted? Now I forgot the thing that I just said. If you feel out of place, you probably are. Here, this person's waiting for a train, but there's no train to come. They feel out of place because they are. They're not at the right train stop. They need to be somewhere else and go somewhere else. There's a big element of like, you don't feel right, move. Like this person could swim up. Like there's no person there, but you could easily imagine a person there swimming up, going somewhere else. This person could start walking. I'm no longer worried about the shadow. I mean, I'm still curious, but we're not going to read it for this image. And then here, this person, oh, interesting. In some ways, they almost feel too much in place because like their whole self has started to become this paperwork, but clearly they are not satisfied here. Maybe it's the idea of like, okay, here we go. This is like how they view themselves through like these very technical lenses, through a very like systematic structure or through maybe academia or something. And they're trying to build their environment around them to match what they are. And like even here, oh my God, this picture's so pretty. You can see the paperwork is like flowing into their garment in a very beautiful way. But they're ultimately unhappy. They're out of place and they feel out of place. So they need to go. They need to actually find the spot where they fit in perfectly because they are trying to create it, but it's just not happening. It is taking a toll on them. If you feel out of place, you probably are. Is these 3 cards big life lesson for the day? Now, let's see what exciting lessons await us in the final 6 cards. Hacha! Okay, in my head, give me some credit here. These were like, I'm going to give you the slow motion replay of like in Colin's mind. Oh, there's a fuzz. Boom, 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 boom. And it like spread out so beautifully. And then it was like, oh, it's like this card and this card and this card, which are the ones I'm going to pick because, you know, reasons. And then like, there was like fireworks and pyrotechnics, which I hadn't prepared, but were going to show up some way. And they like didn't burn my house down. God, it was so sweet. I wish you could have been there. But needless to say, we've got 3 images. 3 images. These images, 3. I'm rolling a lot of R's tonight. That's where we're at. We're at lots of places. It's a very place-heavy evening, as in I'm all over the place. Here, we see a single actor on a stage. Oh my God, it's so pretty. A single actor on a stage with like ultra whimsical decorations and a spotlight on them, bowing to no crowd. Here we see a young girl looking up at her mother, her future self. Questions arise, many, but all of these adults have these mosaic, blurred, censored faces. She is the only figure with a face. And then here we see a young gal carrying a present that is far too big for her. And it's interesting. These figures are, actually all 3 of these figures I would argue are alone in some way. This figure has no audience. This figure is amongst people that they cannot relate to. And this figure is only around this big present. Now, I actually like this read of this card. This figure is looking up at adults and only sees mosaic because she does not have the context to understand what's going on up here. Adult life is just like, not even too confusing, just too out of scope. When you don't know something, you can't imagine it. It's the idea of like learning and your mind expanding. And like the idea of being a kid and understanding like the pressure of, for example, like this mom is sick and she wants to call into work, but she can't call into work because she's missed too much work already and she has to raise her daughter. Like that would not ever compute in a kid's head. Just like you would not have the structure to like understand what that is. Here we have somebody bowing to this crowd, and in some ways this almost feels sad, but I don't know. I'm getting kind of a happy vibe. I'm actually going to take this and look at it closer for just a sec. There seems to be pride in this person as they bow. Like, even though there's no crowd to see them, they're still proud of the work that they've done. Okay, cool. I'm going to rearrange these cards just to like reform the narrative here, even though we're using the same images. So there is a part of us that feels isolated and alone. You know, there's the part of us that works and is, you know, customer facing or whatever, like public facing. And then there's the little inner part of us, the inner child, even if you want to say, that like feels lost, that feels like who we are and what we are is not, I'm going to even organize these again, is not represented. Like They can't relate because this thing is like the pure essence of us. And that thing carries a tremendous burden of like the gift that it is to be alive. Like these people don't even feel alive to me. They almost feel robotic or plastered or cookie cutter. This, this weight of being alive can be heavy because it is heavy to be alive, but it is a present. It is this beautiful thing. So it's all about understanding that there is part of us that is hidden or doesn't understand or is, like lost and confused, almost like a child, and that is a gift that we can give to ourselves in the world to like unpack what that is and look at it. And then we need to take pride, even if it's only us that ever gets to see it and there is never an audience. That is a beautiful thing, like a play, like a production, and a particularly beautiful one in this case, that needs to be cultivated and nurtured and loved. Love your inner self, folks. Love the thing about you that makes you special and makes you happy, like a giant present would make a kid happy. And then there were three. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, an interesting one. We got a little bit of technology. Okay, that's out of my system now. This picture is just so cool. Here we have somebody running through a door, like we can see here the intention is like run through the door, and they've already done it. The door is open, it's moved. This will probably end up being on this side just because I'm kind of getting that flow. Ooh, here we go. We have a knight bowing down to technology, to TVs. This is being a slave to the things that we consume, and even being a slave in that our spirituality is something that we consume through technology. But the only way to actually experience the things that we love and the things that are powerful and special to us is to break out of these bounds and run through, the field, run through nature, run through that boundless expanse, whatever that might be. A nice, short, little sweet one for the end. And I think just a lovely one to end on. Something to, oh, that's on the pad. Or is that a fuzz? Doesn't matter. Something to just tie a nice little bow on our life lessons. I would run us through all of our life lessons again, but all my cards are now a gigantic mess, and I don't remember which order that they go in. So let's just lay out some cards and see some beautiful images again. Guys, gals, people of all ages, wildlife. I probably have some like lion cub viewers or something. Everybody, it has been such an absolute pleasure to talk with everybody again. I've so missed this. I really, really have. This is, like I said in the beginning, like my joy space. It just is so cool to be able to come and talk about something that means so much, about like weird cards with rain on them a lot. Oh, just so lovely. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope some of these life lessons spoke to you. Even if they didn't speak to you personally, just the way that I got there. That to me, like the way that we craft and weave story while reading cards is the thing that I hope really spoke to you. And if you had different reads for any of these, or different interpretations or takes, I would love to hear about that stuff. As always, if you've made it to the end, bravo. Give yourself a little round of applause, because I know I make some long stuff. But it just, such a total dream, and just so good to be back. And I think I'll have plenty of material to continue on for a good long time here. Great. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.